Cynthia Phelps, and I'm the founder of Inner Ally, which is a company that helps you build resilience from the inside out. And it helps you use your inner voice to build self compassion within you so that you can be a more compassionate person on the outside. And I am here to talk to you today about how to leverage technology for more compassion in the world. Now, if you're thinking, technology, compassion, these words don't seem to go together. I can totally understand why you might be thinking that, because we now know that some of the things that we've designed in technology on one end can cause things like frustration, irritation, but on the other end, they can be as bad as causing compulsive behaviors and depression and some other things that we just really don't want. So we're going to be focusing today on the sunny side of technology and how we can actually leverage it to make the world a more compassionate place. And so the world could probably use more compassion right now. It is the first quarter of 2022, and we're coming off of a pandemic. We have a threat of a world war, and there's lots of social unrest across the globe. And so compassion is something that the world would benefit if we could start actively bringing more of it into the world. So, what is compassion? Compassion is the ability to recognize and empathize when someone else is suffering. Not only that, but to have the urge, the desire to take action to alleviate that suffering. And so this is a pro-social characteristic, which means that it helps society in general. And compassion is something that has really helped us over evolution to be able to get along with each other, to cooperate in groups, and to kind of build our whole society. So compassion is a good thing for everyone. Now, tech can intersect with compassion in two main ways, at least the way that I am presenting to you today. One of these is how we can design to be more compassionate, how we can design our technologies with more compassion in mind. And then the second part is how can we actually make technology that fosters compassion in individuals and in the world. And so I'm going to be talking about a few things, and I will have some resources at the end of this, so you can not have to worry about writing any of it down. So technology through design. I started my technology career in the late 90s, and I was working in how to use technology to help people learn and how to change their behavior to help themselves. So, how to practice healthy behaviors. And so, I tell you this because I want to talk about an example of a compassionate design of technology. So one of the things that we were working on is a mobile app that was geared towards veterans that had panic disorder. And so one of the exercises in this mobile app was a breathing exercise. And it was a breathing exercise that was best if you practiced it before you had a panic attack. And so the app we wanted to encourage veterans through this app to practice this breathing technique. And so as I was designing this app, I was thinking carefully about the user and how they might use this. And we created a reward system so that every time that they practiced, they got rewarded for that. Like they got a star. But we put some end caps on that. So we wanted them to practice like a minimum of 5 times per week. And so they got stars for up to 5 times if they practiced that week. Now, if they practiced more, they didn't get any stars, but they could practice as many times as they wanted. Now, why is this a compassionate design? Because we were thinking about the different people that might be using the apps and how that stars can be a very rewarding thing. And sometimes people will want to be compulsive about it and get a lot of stars, win at this breathing, right? And so we didn't want people to go down that direction. We wanted them to kind of practice just the right amount that was good for them. And so that was the number of times that we were rewarding for. Now, you can practice as many times as you want, but the design doesn't support compulsive behavior. The reward system doesn't. And so that's an example of how you can design technology so that it really helps and protects the end user. And you might contrast that with something like Facebook, where it has like the infinite scrolling page where you can scroll until you die. And that is clearly not something that is good for people who have compulsive behavior issues, because they will end up hurting themselves by staying engaged too long with the app. And so we're starting to get a lot more savvy about this. And there are a few different types of areas that if you want to learn more about this design stuff, one is called human-centered design. And this is primarily was developed, it's been around for quite some time. And it is about thinking about the human and how they're going to interact with the technology rather than what you want the technology to do. And there is also a newer field that has emerged, which talks about actually, it's called inclusive design. And so human-centered design was really more about thinking about a normal human and how they would use the app. I really should say like average human. Whereas inclusive design thinks about people who are all different colors, shapes, may have different, maybe neurodivergent. And so it really helps to bring a wider lens into the human-centered design. And so if you want to look up a little bit more about inclusive design, you can learn how people are designing technologies these days to benefit not just the average person, but all kinds of people. Now, so that's the first part of the types of ways technology can be leveraged to bring more compassion, which is in design. The second part is actually designing things that will foster compassion directly. And so this is what I'm most interested in. And there are a variety of ways that you can do this. And so the first thing that I want to talk about are some kind of what I call low-hanging fruit. And one way that we can be compassionate in the world is by giving. And so there are a variety of mobile apps that have been developed that allow you to be able to donate funds so that you can help other people in the world who are suffering, to alleviate their suffering. And these have been pretty cleverly designed. There is one that make it so easy because every time you make a purchase with a credit card, it will round up your change and add that to your donation. And so you barely even notice it. It doesn't change your lifestyle, and it really adds up the more people do it. And that one of those is called Coin Up. There is another one called Free Rice, where basically you play games and see some advertisements in an app, and it puts money towards buying food, rice for people. And so these are some clever ways to practice self-compassion with technology at very little expense to yourself, very easy to implement. Now, there are other apps that do allow you to kind of get in community with other people who are wanting to practice compassion in the world. And so one of those organizations is called the Charter for Compassion. And this was founded by Karen Armstrong. She did a fabulous TED Talk in 2008 and started this project on how we can bring compassion to our cities. And she defined this charter of compassion and what cities need to do to kind of be designated as a compassionate city. And it has really kind of taken compassion from something that is abstract to a real clear checklist of what cities need to do, governments need to do to be considered compassionate. And so they also have an app that's called Compassion Today, and they have a variety of events and things that are on that app that you can tap into. There are resources, all kinds of things that you can do to plug into that community and begin to raise compassion however you fit in, that you see yourself fitting in. Then there are some other apps that are a little more on the skill side. And the first one I want to talk about is My Aloha. And this one was designed based on research in empathy. And so remember, the definition of self-compassion is the ability to notice and to empathize, to feel someone else's suffering, in addition to that second part, which is the motivation to help alleviate it. So empathy is in the first part of that definition, which is feeling how other people feel. And so this mobile app was designed to take a daily mindfulness practice and do it in community as a way to practice empathy when you are looking at other people's responses to different questions. And I think it's really fun to play with, and you might check it out, and I'll put it in my resource list for you. Now, another app that I think is really fabulous is by a group out of Sweden called 29K. And they have a mobile app with that exact same name. And they actually have a whole course on self-compassion that you can take, and it's completely free. Now, self-compassion, which is compassion towards yourself, is the bedrock of all compassion. It is the thing that will really sustain you. If your goal is to help bring more compassion into the world, then this is something that you can practice that will help fill your cup. So in this app, you learn more about how to be compassionate to yourself. And we know the research says the more self-compassionate you are, the more compassionate you are towards others and towards the world. And so I'm on board with that. Now, I am also a certified teacher of something called Mindful Self-Compassion, which is a curriculum that is research-based that teaches people how to be more self-compassionate. And our group is going to be coming out with a new app this year, which is all about our curriculum and how we teach self-compassion based on, I guess, almost 20 years of research now. And it is going to be fabulous. So keep an eye out for the Center for Mindful Self-Compassion, because we'll be announcing that. Get on the newsletter for that. And I will also include that in the resources. In addition, I am working on an app for my company for Inner Ally. What I am really focused in on is how we can train our own inner voice to be more kind and supportive of ourselves as a way to practice self-compassion, which will then literally change how we interact with other people and just the world in general. It really does start with each of us inside of ourselves, and the inner voice is such a great place to nurture compassion for yourself in a very active and fun way. And so I hope that you have enjoyed listening a little bit about how technology intersects with compassion and how we can use design to actually build technologies that cause less suffering, and also how we can build new tech to actually support practicing compassion, building the skills of compassion, and also building inner compassion so that we can make a better, more sustainable impact in the world. And so my name is Dr. Cynthia Phelps. And if you want these resources, go ahead and contact me at Cynthia@innerally.org. INNERALLY.com. And you can also check out the website at innerally.com. And thank you so much. And I hope you're having a fantastic Happiness Fest.